Hey, what's good everybody? I hope you all doing well and welcome to this video, which is going to be a step-by-step tutorial of creating this Cuban chain. And as always, you can find the link of the final project file in the description. And also I'm excited to announce that another tutorial is coming soon, which is going to be about combining the 4PF pendant that we've made in the previous tutorial with this Cuban chain. So consider subscribing to the channel not to miss that tutorial. For now, let's get started guys. So I'm going to start by adding a plane to my scene. I press Shift A, I go for mesh and the plane, I add it, then I press tab to go to the edit mode, or you can just click here to go to the edit mode. Then I press 7 on my numpad to go to the top view and make sure everything is selected. I just press A to select everything. Then I press S plus X to scale my object down or scale it up in the x-axis, and I enter 0.3. Then I just select these two vertices and I press S, Y, and I enter 0.63, maybe something like this. Yeah. Then I just press A to select everything. Then I just press E to extrude the top and I enter 0.2. Then I want to add a loop cut in the center, so I press Ctrl R, then I left click and I right click to leave it at the default position. And I also add a loop cut here and here, or you can just add one and increase it up to 3, increase the number of cuts basically. And yeah, just like that, I press 3 to go to face mode. I go here and I click here, or I hold shift and I select this face as well. I press E to extrude them down and I enter 0.25. And just like that, I hit A to select everything, I hit G and X to move my object in the x-axis somewhere like here, and I again select these two faces. Then I extrude them out and I go to the modifier properties. I add a mirror modifier like that. Now checkbox this clipping option and I just press G and X to move faces like this, and I press X to delete the faces. And if you hit Alt C on your keyboard, you can go to the X-ray mode, or just clicking here and you can see everything is good. I just press 7 on my numpad to go to the top view. Then I just select all of these faces. I press G, X to just move them in the x-axis. And yeah, something like that sounds good to me. Now what I want to do is applying this mirror modifier and rotating my object by selecting it and pressing R, Z, and I just enter 45 on my numpad. Then I just add an array modifier to my object, just like that, and I press Ctrl A to apply the rotation. I forgot to do that. Then I just move it like this, and now we already got somewhere, but there are some problems, we need to fix them. Something like this sounds good, but I'm going to edit it more. Like I'm going to rotate it again by pressing R, Z, and -45. Then I just disable this array modifier in the viewport and I go to the edit mode to just edit this object a bit. I go ahead, I go to the front view by pressing 1 on my numpad. I go to vertex mode by pressing 1 on my keyboard, or just clicking here to switch between vertex, edge, and face mode. And I go to the X-ray mode by pressing Alt Z or clicking here. I'm just saying everything that I'm doing to just keep you guys informed and just make it easier for you to continue with the tutorial. So just to switch between views, look, you can just hold Alt and use your middle mouse button to just and drag it to just change between views. So I go to the right view, I move these up just like that. I go to top view, and you can also use the shortcuts, like it's 1 for the front view, 3 for the right view, and 7 for the top view. And here I just select these vertices, I press G, Y, and I go for a number like -0.1, and I also select these, press G, Y, and this time I go for 0.1, and just like that. Maybe select these 4 vertices basically, and I press S, Y to just scale them and make them further from each other, you know what I'm saying, just like that. maybe give some more space here. Yeah, something like this sounds good to me. I enable back the array modifier and I press Alt R to just reset the rotation, and something like this is good. I'm going to add the bevel modifier to my object as well, and I just move it before and on top of the array modifier. Just increase the segments to something like 4 and decrease the amount by holding shift. Yeah, something like this is fine. Just you can also enter 0.025 or something. Then I just right click, I choose shade smooth, and yeah, I like this one. You can play with it more to find your satisfying look, but I'm going to go ahead with this one. So the next step is making it a chain, which is easy. I just add a Bezier curve to my scene by pressing Shift A, going to curve panel and choose the Bezier. I go up and zoom back. Basically, I press Tab to go to the edit mode. I press A to select everything. Also, it's already selected. Then I press S to scale everything up, just like this. And make sure that you don't do it in the object mode because it will crash and it won't work correctly. Afterwards, we're going to apply it on our links. So now select the chain, and from the modifier properties, change the fit type from fixed count to fit curve, and just select the curve as your object. After that, add another modifier that is called curve, and it's under the deform section. Just go choose the curve and select the curve as the curve object of that modifier. And now if I just go and select the Bezier curve and I go to the edit mode by pressing Tab, then I just select one of these points and I scale this down. I rotate it by pressing R, I scale it by pressing S, and I press G to move this. You can see I've already made something and it's a chain, and I'm going to select both of these points by just selecting them or pressing A to select everything, and I right click and I choose subdivide, and this way I can add another vertex between them to just have more control. Just like that, I select them, pressing G to move them, pressing R to rotate them, and I'm on the top view so it's easier to control it. And we can also select one of these points or vertices and pressing Ctrl T to just rotate this specific part. And as you can see, if I just subdivide these two points and subdivide these two again, now if I just press Ctrl T on this one, you can see it's very specific and you are only rotating that particular part. So it's a good tip. I thought it would be useful for you guys. And I just undo everything by pressing Ctrl Z, just like that. Now it's a good time to save your project by pressing Ctrl S and just name it whatever you want. Then after all, we're going to add the materials. So firstly, I select the chain and I go to the shading workspace and I customize my shading workspace. You can just right click here and like add a horizontal split or something, or maybe join your areas. I think you have something like this right now by default. So yeah, I'm going to add a new material setup and I'm going to zoom in. Then I just select the principal BSCF and you need to enable the Node Wrangler add-on from the edit menu, preferences, and add-on section. Just search for Node Wrangler add-on and enable it. Then come here, select any nodes, or like me now I'm selecting the principal BSCF and press Ctrl T to add the setup like this, which is really cool and which is one of the favors of the principal BSCF. And now I'm going to add a like glitter image texture to this one. I will definitely leave its download link in the description. You can go and download it from there. I'm just searching for it, and yeah, just like that, but I don't want it in the color. I need to add another node by pressing Shift A that is called normal map, just like this. I connect the color to the color of the normal map, and I just connect the normal to the normal, just like that. Nothing happened yet, and that's because of several factors. The first reason is because we didn't made any material. So just make the metallic up to 1 and decrease the roughness to something like 0.3 or something. Anything you like, I go for 0.35, and then press tab to go to the edit mode. And you can also go to the modifier properties and enable this edit mode display to just don't go too far, and go to edit mode, press A to select everything, then just press U and choose Smart UV project, then hit OK. And now here we go, we have something going on. Then I'm just going to increase the scale by just clicking and drag on all these scale inputs and just increasing its value. I'm going for something like 4 or 5 or even 10, whatever you like. And then you can just play with the strength. You can decrease it, increase it, whatever you like. I think something like this is fine, like 1.3. And you can also disconnect this normal map to just see your chain with the with ordinary metallic material. You know, it's cool as well, and it's your call, whatever you want to do. I think that it's fascinating with this material, with this glitter shader, but that's on you. Do whatever you want to do. So the next step of this tutorial is adding some diamonds to these chains. And also, as you can see, and as you probably experienced it yourself, there is a deformation happening right here, and wherever it has a sharp rotation, and we'll fix this. Don't worry about it right now, we'll fix it in the end of the tutorial. For now, let's just keep moving. Just go back to the layout workspace, and I add a circle to my scene by pressing Shift A, go to the mesh and choose a circle. I open this menu, I enter 8 for the vertices, and then I just press the period on my numpad to zoom in. I go to edit mode by pressing tab. I press F to fill it up. I press E to extrude it. I don't have exact number for this, just go for something like this, and we'll scale it down later on. Then after that, press Ctrl R to add a loop cut, then just move it up and left click to leave it somewhere like here. Then scale it up by pressing S, just like this, and maybe move it up a little bit. Then just go to the face mode and select the bottom face, then just scale it down, something like this. Now this is a good diamond. Maybe we can move it down, and yeah, something like this sounds good to me. Or just scale this bottom face up a little bit. Yeah, something like this sounds good. Scale it down by pressing S in the object mode and press Ctrl A to apply the scale. It's very important to applying the scale in order not to encounter any problems in the future. And then just go to the shading viewport by clicking here or pressing Z and go to the material preview and go to material properties, add a new material, call it diamond or whatever. And after that, just open this transmission menu, make it up to 1 and make the roughness down to 0 and enter 2.85 for the IOR. And this is our diamond material. I'm not going to touch it anymore. And just like that, it's done. After all, select the chain, go to modifier properties and just disable the array modifier and the curve modifier in the viewport. I'm just going to play with it a little, then I'm going to enable them again. So I'm going to the top view and I also press Z to go to the solid view, and after that I select the diamond, I scale it down just like this, whatever you like. I think a size like this sounds good for the final result, maybe scale it down a bit. And I just apply the scale again by pressing Ctrl A and choosing a scale. And by the way, you can hit N on your keyboard, then go to the item section to see if your scale is applied or not. If it's applied, all of these numbers are 1. Like I undo by pressing Ctrl Z, and you can see it's not applied. But when I hit Ctrl A and I choose scale, you can see all of them is applied. So I press N again to close this menu. And after all, I'm going to do a couple of things. First of all, I select my link and I duplicate it by pressing Shift D. Then I just right click to leave it at the default position. Then I hide the main object by clicking here And by the way, you can just name it whatever you want. I name it link, and I name this one link copy. After that, I'm going to add a cube by pressing Shift A and just finding a cube. Then I hit tab on my keyboard, then I press S and Z to scale it down, just like this. Then I press S and I hit Shift Z to scale it up in every axis except for Z, just like that. I move it up, scale it down in the Z axis. I'm going to use this object as a boolean, so you'll find out what I'm going to do in just a couple minutes. After that, I'm going to go back to the object mode, and I'm going to the modifiers properties. I add a boolean modifier, just like that, and I choose the link copy as the object, and I choose a fast as solver, and I just hide this object by selecting it and pressing H. So now while my cube is selected, I'm going to right click and choose shade auto smooth, and then I just enable back my object to see what's up. I just scale it down a bit. I move it up somewhere like here, maybe somewhere like here. Hide it again by pressing H. Then I just go ahead into the modifier properties and I apply this boolean modifier. And now everything is good. I just hide this cube and I just select my diamond. I go to the geometry node workspace. I press period on my numpad to zoom in. I add a new geometry node setup, and I go to add I go ahead. I press Shift A. I go and add a grid node. Yeah, grid mesh, basically right here. After that, I hit Shift A and I search for an instance on points node. I just put it right here. I use the geometry or the group input as the instance, which is the diamond, and I use the grid for the points input, just like that. I scale this up. Maybe I enable my link to see how will it look on this, and I just increase the vertices, just like that. Yeah, something like this sounds good. Maybe increase this up to 40, and yeah, just like this. I'm feeling comfortable with this one, but I'm going to scale it up, scale it down to see what is the best look. Also, I'm going to rotate all of the diamonds by entering 22.5 for the rotation and Z input, so I can decide better what to do. And maybe something like this, and increasing the vertices. And yeah, something like this is fine. Now I'm just going to realize all of these instances by adding the realize instances node after this, and I just go ahead and apply this geometry node modifier. You can see all of them now are meshes, so we can boolean them in the layout workspace. And I'm going to enable back my cube object. Then I just move all of these diamonds up like this. Maybe I increase the scale of my cube by going to the edit mode in the first place, and I press A to select everything. Then just press S and Z to scale it up in the Z axis, just like that. And yeah, now I select the diamonds. I just go ahead, I add the boolean modifier from the modifier properties, and I choose the cube as the object. After that, I just select the fast as my solver, or you can do it before you just select the object, and that's it. I apply this modifier, I hide the cube, and I go to the edit mode, and then I just select all these diamonds around it. We don't need them. I just press X and I delete the vertices. And yeah, just like this. Now I'm happy with what we got, so I just select the link. I go to the edit mode, I go to face mode, and I select all these faces by holding shift, selecting one of them, and holding control to select the last one. Then I just hit I on my keyboard to insert it, something like this. Then I press E to extrude this down as much as I like. This sounds good to me. I select the diamonds, I press G and Z to move them up, and I just see them should just not exceed the top. Yeah, I like this. I really like this. And the next step is just cleaning out these diamonds, which is a bit of extra work, but that's fine. I just select the diamond and I hit slash on my numpad to hide everything except these, and then I rotate it 45 degrees. In the object mode, I press R, Z, and I enter 45 on my numpad, and you can also rotate it by minus 45 degrees to just make it straight up and make it easier for yourself to edit it. Then I go to the edit mode by pressing tab, and the first thing I do is like going to X-ray mode, selecting one part of it and pressing X to delete all the vertices. Then I just go to modifier properties to add a mirror modifier. Then I just go back to the object mode and I apply the rotation. I go back to edit mode, and now as you can see, if I go and hover on any of these diamonds, you can see if I press L, it will select it, and the L is the shortcut for the select linked. So I just go ahead and I just select all of these diamonds which I want to delete them in the future, just like this. We don't need them, I think, and just pressing L will do the work. Nothing happened. Yeah, now while these selected, press X and choose faces, edges, or whatever you like. You can just delete them by all of them. After, I'll go back to object mode, hit on slash to just go back and unhide everything else. Now I just press RZ and I enter 45 on my numpad to rotate it 45 degrees in the Z-axis, and that's it. Then just go to top view by pressing 7, go to edit mode, select everything, and then I just press G to just move them like that and find an appropriate position. I think this is fine. Maybe, yeah, something like this is fine. And I also go ahead, I choose a bevel modifier. I want to decrease the amount of this bevel modifier, something like this. And if you like, you can go ahead, select one of these diamonds and press Shift D to just duplicate it and fill these gaps like this. And it's very easy, you just need to scale them and rotate them maybe just to fill the gaps. And these are optional, you can just ignore doing all of this works and just go ahead with what you have. But I just prefer to do this in an appropriate way, because just every time like more details add a better look to your work. And I'm just playing around because I like to. I told you can ignore this and also pass this part of the tutorial, but if you like, you can watch and learn. Just press Shift D and I press Y double times to move my objects in the local Y axis. Then I press Shift R to just repeat what I did, just like that. It's very fun, that's because I like it. And I select these two diamonds, deselect this vertex, duplicate them by pressing Shift D, pressing Shift D again, double Y, and I can press double Y because I haven't applied the rotation in the object mode. And if you applied it, just go back and undo it, then do these things again. Yeah, something like this sounds good to me. You can also fill those gaps as well. I just prefer not to, for now at least. And yeah, just like that, you have these diamonds. You can make them smaller or bigger or whatever when you are in the geometry nodes. And after all, I just select them. I go apply the mirror modifier, and I also select my link. Maybe I just make a duplicate of that and I press M to move it into another collection that is called backup or anything else. And I just disable this collection. I just want to save my objects because I want to apply the materials. And in any case, if I want to come back and change it, I can do that later. So now I just select the bevel modifier and I hit Ctrl A to apply it. Then I go back, I select my diamonds, I hold shift, select my link, and I hit Ctrl J on my keyboard. And now if I enable back this array modifier and the curve modifier, you can see everything is working pretty good, and we have our chain, which is pretty good with the diamonds. That's it. Now the next step is just fixing these deformations, and for that I'm going to add a plane to my scene by pressing Shift A, or any other object you can add, but I prefer to go with the plane. And just make sure that the plane is as the same size as your chain. Like now my chain and my link basically is a little bit bigger, so I go to edit mode and I scale this plane up, something like this. Yeah, this is fine. The next step is copying the modifiers of the chain to this plane. So while the plane is selected, just hold shift and select the link, then press Ctrl L and choose copy modifiers. After that, select the link, hold shift and select the plane, and make sure that this is the orange one because it's the active one. And now if I just press Ctrl P and choose objects, I can parent the link to the plane, which is in the outliner. I have the plane, and under it I have the link, which means the link is parented to the plane. And I select the link and I just delete its modifiers. So now if I select the plane and I enable the modifiers, you can see it's replaced with the link. Now what I need to do is go to the object properties and to the instancing section, then just choose the faces. And now I uncheck the viewport and render option, and now you can see we got rid of that deformation, and that's because we distributed the plane instead of the links, and then we used the links as the instances of plane's faces. That's not very complicated, but it will get the job done, and now we are all good. Now there is one thing that you need to pay attention to, that is if you select a curve, go to edit mode and just make a sharp rotation like this, it will crash into each other, which is like a real world limitation. You know, you cannot bend your Cubans more like this, and just pay attention to this, make sure that you don't mess it up, and you'll be good. And as I told, you can select 2 or even more vertices and right click and subdivide them to add more vertices, then just play with the shape, etc, etc. And there are some tips that you need to pay attention to, which is make sure that you don't have any extra objects in your collection, in your main collection, and just move them to the backup collection or even delete them. And second, if you want to play with the size of the links, just select this one and just scale it down, then select the chain, which is the plane, and go to modifier properties and open this array modifier setting. Then just increase or decrease the factor of the x-axis, just like that. You have a smaller links and a smaller Cuban chain, which is pretty good. And then whatever you want to do, just play with the Bezier curve, go select it from the outliner, go to edit mode and just scale and just play with the position of the vertices, and make sure that you don't move it a lot in the object mode because everything will get dirty when you do that. And there is a point here, that is you cannot change this object from the render mode, because that way the whole chain won't be shown up in the final render result. And I have a solution for that, which is selecting everything and pressing G and Z to move them down. And by everything I mean the plane, the Bezier curve and the link all at once. And after all, select the Bezier curve, press tab to go to the edit mode, press A to select everything, then press G and Z and move it up just above this line, because after that you can go and add the plane, and that way when you scale this up, the single link won't show up in the final render, and it's basically a way of hiding it. And I think this is the best solution, so do that if you want. And yeah guys, I think we're done with this tutorial, and the rest of this tutorial, which is gonna be rendering and combining this chain with that 4PF pendant, is going to be in another video very soon, so stay tuned for that part. And I hope you enjoyed this one and learned something useful, and if so, Subscribe to the channel, like the video, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching and wish you the best. Stay tuned for the next. Take care.